Do you actually know when your cockatiel trusts you? You probably think you do. Maybe you assume it's the cuddling or the way they climb onto your shoulder. But here's the thing. Most of the signs that actually matter are so small, so quiet, that owners miss them completely, or worse, they misread them as bad behavior and try to correct them out of their bird. Today we're going through 5 real signs that your cockatiel trusts you on the deepest level a bird is capable of, and by the end, you'll never look at your bird's small habits the same way again. Let's start with the first one, and it happens more often than you'd think, probably every single day, right in front of you. 1. They fluff their feathers and go still beside you. Ever notice your cockatiel puffing up their feathers and just freezing right next to you? Most people assume that means they're cold or getting comfortable for a nap. That explanation feels harmless, so nobody questions it. But that's not what's actually happening. Here's what most owners don't know about bird biology. A puffed-up bird is a slower bird. When those feathers rise, a cockatiel's body loses aerodynamic shape almost instantly. Escape becomes clumsy. Reaction time drops. In the wild, this is the single worst position a prey animal can be caught in. Every instinct a bird carries says never make yourself slower or heavier near something that could hurt you. Not for 1 second. Not even in a familiar space. And yet your cockatiel does exactly that, inches from your hand, sometimes even leaning into you while doing it. Avian behaviorists call this a relaxed posture display, and researchers who study companion birds have noted that it almost never appears around strangers, or even around family members the bird hasn't fully accepted. It only shows up once a bird has made a decision, consciously, that nothing in this moment is a threat. Think about what that actually means. Your cockatiel isn't just comfortable. It's switching off its own alarm system. It's choosing, in a body built by millions of years of predator pressure, to become momentarily defenseless, on purpose, next to you. That's not a nap position. That's a trust decision your bird makes fresh every single time it happens. And if your cockatiel ever stops doing this around you, if the fluffing stops and they stay sleek and alert instead, don't brush it off as nothing. We'll get into exactly what that shift means at the end of this video, and it's something every cockatiel owner needs to recognize early. 2. They grind their beak right before falling asleep. Have you ever heard a soft, quiet grinding sound coming from your cockatiel just as their eyes start to close? Most owners find it a little strange the first time. Some even worry something's wrong with their bird's beak. It's the opposite. Beak grinding, sometimes called beak purring by bird owners, is one of the clearest physical signs of total contentment a cockatiel can display. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. Birds rarely, if ever, do this around anyone they haven't fully accepted. Think about why that would be true. Predators hunt by sound as much as by sight. An animal that makes repetitive noise while drifting off to sleep is an animal broadcasting exactly where it is and exactly how vulnerable it's about to become. In the wild, that kind of sound would be a death sentence. So a bird's brain is wired, hard, to stay silent while falling asleep, unless it has decided the environment around it is completely safe. So when your cockatiel sits beside you, eyes half closed, grinding away, it isn't a strange little quirk to laugh about. It's your bird choosing, night after night, to override an ancient survival instinct, just because you're there. That's your cockatiel telling you, in the only language it has, nothing here can reach me. And hey, if this is already making you look at your cockatiel a little differently, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps this video reach more bird owners who actually want to understand what's going on inside their bird's head, instead of just guessing. 3. They regurgitate for you. This one grosses a lot of people out the first time it happens. It shouldn't. When your cockatiel bobs their head, works their throat, and offers you a little bit of food, that's not a mess for you to wipe off the counter. That's the single highest compliment a bird is capable of giving. Here's why. In the wild, parent birds regurgitate to feed their chicks. Bonded mated pairs do it for each other for life, sometimes multiple times a day, as a way of reinforcing the pair bond. It costs the bird real energy, real effort, real food it worked to find. Nothing about it is casual. So when your cockatiel regurgitates for you, something important is happening inside that bird's brain. You are no longer filed under the tall thing that fills my food bowl. You've been moved into one of exactly 2 categories a cockatiel's instincts recognize as worth sacrificing food for: mate or family. There is no third category. There's no in-between filing system for owner I sort of like. Some owners try to stop this behavior because it seems unhygienic, and that's understandable. But it's worth pausing at least once to actually notice what's being offered to you. Your bird found something it wanted, and instead of keeping it, chose to give it to you for absolutely nothing in return. That's not a misfire of instinct. That's the deepest bond a cockatiel is biologically capable of forming, and you're on the receiving end of it. 4. They lower their head and wait. Does your cockatiel ever duck their head down toward you and just hold still, almost expectantly? A lot of owners either miss this completely or aren't sure what their bird wants from them in that moment. Here's what's actually happening, and it comes down to simple anatomy. The back of a bird's head and the nape of their neck are the one area of their entire body they can never reach, groom, or even see for themselves. It's also, not coincidentally, the single most physically vulnerable spot a bird has. No claws can defend it. No beak can reach it. It's a permanent blind spot. So when your cockatiel lowers their head toward you and waits, they aren't just asking for a scratch. They're deliberately offering you access to the one part of their body they cannot protect themselves. In the wild, and in captivity, that request only ever goes to a mate, a parent, or a flock member the bird trusts with its life, literally, since an attack to that spot could be fatal. If you've ever gently scratched that spot and felt your bird's eyes go half closed, their body goes soft and loose, that wasn't just a bird enjoying a nice scratch. Studies on social grooming in parrots have linked this kind of contact to oxytocin release, the same bonding hormone involved in pair bonding and parent-chick attachment. Your cockatiel didn't just pick a random itch. It chose you as the one allowed to trigger that response. 5. They call the moment you leave the room. Your cockatiel starts calling the second you step out, and if you're honest, it can feel a little exhausting some days, maybe even excessive. Here's the reframe that changes everything. Cockatiels are flock animals down to their bones. In the wild, getting separated from the flock isn't a minor inconvenience. It's one of the single most dangerous situations a small bird can find itself in. Alone means exposed. Alone means an easy target with no extra eyes watching for danger. So flock birds evolved a very specific tool to prevent that. The contact call, a short, repeated sound whose entire job is to say, "Where are you?" and to get an answering, "Where are you?" back. That call your cockatiel gives the moment you leave isn't neediness, and it isn't your bird being dramatic. It's the exact same survival behavior wild cockatiels use, hundreds of times a day, to keep a flock physically connected across distance and obstacles. And in your home, you are the flock. You're the one connection that matters. Every single time your bird calls and you answer back, even just with your voice from another room, you're confirming something their instincts are built to need constantly. We are still connected. You are still safe. You have not been left behind. Ignore that call too many times, too consistently, and something in that relationship starts to shift, and not for the better. 6. They mirror your energy. Here's one almost nobody talks about. Watch your cockatiel closely the next time you come home stressed, rushing around, voice a little tighter than usual. Chances are, your bird gets loud, restless, maybe even a little snappy. Now compare that to a slow, quiet evening, when you're calm and unhurried. Your cockatiel is probably calmer too, softer sounds, more relaxed posture, more of that beak grinding we talked about earlier. That's not a coincidence, and it's not your bird just reacting to noise. Cockatiels, like many flock species, are extremely sensitive to the emotional state of the individuals they're bonded to, because in the wild, a flock's safety depends on picking up on each other's alarm signals instantly. A bonded bird doesn't just hear you. It reads you, your tone, your movement speed, even subtle shifts in your breathing and posture. When your cockatiel's mood consistently tracks yours, rising when you're anxious, settling when you're calm, that's a sign of a bird that has folded you into its own sense of safety. Your emotional state has become part of their environment to monitor, the same way it would monitor a mate or a flock leader. That's not your bird being sensitive or difficult. That's attunement, and it only happens with birds a cockatiel has fully accepted as family. Closing/mirror behavior. So what does it mean if your cockatiel suddenly stops doing these things? If the fluffing stops and they stay sleek and alert around you instead? If the beak grinding goes quiet? If they stop offering you food they used to happily share? or stop lowering their head for that scratch they used to ask for constantly. Don't ignore it, and don't assume it's nothing. Cockatiels are creatures of routine, and when trust this deep suddenly disappears, it's rarely random. Sometimes the cause is physical. Illness, pain, or discomfort make birds withdraw fast, hide their vulnerability, and pull back from contact. It's an old survival reflex that kicks in even in a safe home. If that shift is sudden, a vet visit is always worth it. Sometimes it's environmental. A new pet in the house, a cage that got moved, a change in your schedule. Cockatiels are far more sensitive to shifts in their space than most owners realize, and something that seems small to you can feel enormous to them. And sometimes, it's something that happened in that exact space that scared them, a loud noise, a startle, a moment they didn't feel protected. Your cockatiel chose you. Out of every possible source of safety in its world, it chose you to be the flock. If that ever changes, your bird isn't being difficult, and it isn't being dramatic. It's communicating in the only way it knows how. So watch closely, listen for what's missing, and if you need to, take the time to help them find their way back to trusting you completely.